Google parent Alphabet reportedly in talks to buy Wiz, a cloud detection and response vendor, for up to $23 billion. It's not the only one in that space. Arctic Wolf has a valuation north of $4 billion that was set a couple years back. Rapid7's public, $2.5 billion. Let's bring in Arctic Wolf CEO and president Nick Schneider. Arctic Wolf ranked number 18 in this year's CNBC Disruptor 50 list. Nick, good to see you. First, give me a sense of overall demand and how that's trending from cyber from the enterprise, because look at AT&T and some others. It seems pretty durable.
Yeah, I mean, the threat landscape has never been higher than it is today. You know, we have a bunch going on, obviously, with the election, with the Olympics, and a bunch of things happening geopolitically. So it's a enormous demand environment. I think the problems continue to get more and more complex. And I think you're seeing that in the way in which the market's moving.
So curious about exits then. You've been talked about as a potential IPO candidate for quite a while now, but you haven't come out. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, we're still paying attention to the markets. Obviously, the market wholesale is doing fairly well. We're paying attention to what we need to do as a business to, you know, grow what we're doing into the best it can possibly be and get it ready for the public markets. I think we're still waiting to see how a few of the more recent entrants fare. And then obviously there's a few things happening kind of within the market itself that are, you know, interesting for us to pay attention to as we kind of move forward here.
Well, speaking of, okay, Rubrik went public a few months back. That stock has chopped around a bit. You're sort of a white glove concierge service helping companies to implement cybersecurity among the other technology that you have. How does this conversation about Wiz and Alphabet, Google, impact the market overall? And how do you think the M&A versus IPO calculus is shaping up?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting conversation. Obviously, there's a lot of work that still needs to get done on this, you know, potential deal. But it's certainly showing that, you know, the cloud service providers, the larger technology players in the space are taking a keen interest as to how cybersecurity plays into their overall, you know, strategy and the overall landscape. I think if this deal progresses, you know, or even just the rumor of this deal as it stands today, will certainly pique the interest of some of the other larger players in the space. And I think that will play into the M&A markets. You know, I think when you marry that with what is a current trend of kind of moving away from best of breed tools towards, you know, broader platforms, specifically platforms that can leverage AI in a meaningful way, you kind of get a perfect storm of M&A opportunity in the market. And I think we'll see some more of that as we move forward throughout the year.
Nick, we were talking to Matt Garman, the new CEO of AWS, just a couple weeks back, and they're trying to use security to differentiate themselves versus Microsoft. As we move further into this AI era, how much does the conversation about security shift?
Yeah, I think two things are happening. One, you know, customers are trying to move away from a best of breed multi-tool approach. You know, so these organizations that have moved from 50 or 60 different security tools down to looking for a vendor that can provide them a variety of different, you know, security operations outcomes on a centralized platform is really key. And then when you marry kind of that theme with the opportunity with AI to gain operating leverage, but also provide, you know, additional benefits to the customer, you really get a perfect storm of opportunity for large platform players that have built a platform that can provide multiple outcomes to the customer, to then also leverage AI to provide, you know, higher efficacy to the customer or, you know, provide more efficiency to their bottom line.